This is the visual, right? These are high school graduates, 2018. Let's give our high school graduates a round of applause. All right, okay. All right, so we're about to get started. So good morning. My name is Gwen Samuel. I am a mom first and foremost. I am also the president and the founder of the Connecticut Parents Union. And our bottom line for our mission is we fight for the educational rights of children. And that is why we're here today.
Hi.
My name's J.C. McCauley.
I'm Naisha McCauley, and you're watching AccessTV.org.
We're here to support Governor Malloy's veto of Public Act 1889, an act concerning school safety and classroom behavior. We're opposing this bill not because we don't believe in school safety, because for parents, school safety is first and foremost. Safety as a whole is first and foremost for our children. We're concerned that this bill was designed in isolation of parents. We don't hear from the students. We don't hear from other stakeholders that are needed to ensure all schools are safe in Connecticut. So you are here today with 3 parent groups, and you will hear brief remarks from the parent groups. We have high school graduates. You will hear brief remarks. And you'll also hear from an elementary school student who's in the 4th grade. Because if we don't listen to the students, how can we say what is really happening in the schools? Because the only 2 stakeholders at a minimum that we know are in the schools are the children who are in the classrooms and the educators in front of the classroom. But this bill only hears from educators. And let me be very clear. We as parents stand with great teachers and great principals, because when you're successful, our children are successful. But let us be very clear. When educators are not on their game, when educators do not support a safe environment, when educators are the bullies, or when educators become the offenders, then we have a problem. So again, this is about standing with great teachers, and all we're saying is today, we're asking Connecticut lawmakers, do not override this governor's veto. Let us come back to the table, because school safety is a shared responsibility. So first we will hear from Jazzniqua, say her last name, Marrow. She's a 4th grade student from Meriden, and then we'll keep going on, and then the people will introduce themselves. Excuse me, I'm about to cough. All right, thank you. All right, Jazzniqua. I meant to bring something for you to stand on. So let's figure this out.
Good morning. My name is Jasmine Barrel, and I am from Meriden. I am here to talk about how teachers should treat all students fairly. When someone is bothering me, I tell my teacher, but she doesn't do or say anything, so I feel I need to defend myself. I am in school to learn. I would like my teacher to listen to both sides, not just one, so she can get the full information. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much for sharing. All right. And then next we will hear from Marilyn. She'll pronounce her name correctly. From the Connecticut Parent Power.
Good morning. We're urging everyone that's listening in, especially our legislators that really do represent the voices of our families and children, to really do the right thing to ensure that Public Act 1889 is really considered to have families vetted in this process. I think it's really critical that when we're looking at the well-being of children, children are not begging the very adults that are supposed to be supporting and protecting the wellness and health of each one of them as they enter our school systems. To all of the teachers and administrators that are actually the ones that are the leaders that lead by example. It is not your power to remove our children from an educational classroom that really enables children the opportunity to really learn and grow in an environment that's really conducive and going to be actually productive for the child. It's really important that we listen to a child that is like our fourth grader. There's always two sides to the story. If we're only getting the viewpoints from administrators and also the teachers, we're also putting ourselves at risk to possibly have biases that are always disproportionately against our Black, Brown, and Latino children, and we can't afford that for that to happen. We need to take steps forward, united, and with unity, we know that we can build a strong strength of power to change the narrative for our Black, Brown, and Latinos. So this is a calling out, not a calling in to this process, because we have to ensure that as parents, we are our child's first and most influential teachers, and prevention is key. You can't get it right from the start if you actually don't listen to the voices of children and families. So please ensure that Public Act 1889 is negated at this point in time. Vet our parents in the process and ensure that it is multidisciplinary and also culturally sensitive to the needs of all families, not just some. Thank you very much.
And next we will hear from high school graduate and first year Eastern State Connecticut University, New Haven student, Tiana Long.
Good morning. My name is Tiana Long, and I recently graduated from Amistad High School, Achievement First District. In the fall, I will be attending Eastern Connecticut State University. So in my school, there's something called ISC, and when students misbehave in class, they get sent to ISC. And that means that they miss out on an entire day of education when they could be sent to a counselor's office or sent to someone who can talk to them about why they're behaving the way that they are. So I feel like teachers are not on our side. They're mostly just working for themselves. They're not trying to make sure that we get what we need in order to succeed. They're just teaching us because that's their next paycheck. So I feel like if we come together and, use our power for greater things, then it'll be really efficient. Thank you.
And next we will hear from community activist, Waterbury community activist, Athena Wagner of Waterbury, Connecticut.
Good morning, everyone. Gwen, Connecticut Parents Union, Google guru, I call her. She just shoots me all of this stuff, and we just take off. This one in particular. And my perspective might be a little different from your first two speakers. I think they were very nice. We have a system, an education system, that was not designed by us, and it was not designed for us. Yet, our children are mandated to attend these failing schools year after year after year after year. Equity, they're still trying to figure that out. I don't know how much it's going to cost, how many people they have to hire at 5- and 6-figure salaries to figure out equity in education funding. Anybody that runs a household can figure out the equity of where it needs to go. Then we have teacher accountability. Almost none. They don't get evaluated. Maybe they do, some do, but not consistently. They push back against being evaluated, But yet we see time and time and time again incidents of teacher bullying, incidents of teacher child molestation in the classroom, incidents of teacher assaulting children, incidents of teachers using racial slurs against children. And we're mandated to send our kids to these schools. And at the end of the day, and I'm not anti-union, but at the end of the day, unions represent no one but their members. I don't care what they say. I don't care what you read. They do not represent anybody except their dues-paying members. They're not representing the children. The only ones there to represent the children are the parents. And I say that to say this. Parents, you are going to have to empower yourselves. If you don't send your children to these schools, these teachers don't get a paycheck. They don't have a job. These are your children. And whatever decisions are made about your children, you, the primary stakeholder as the parent, have the final say. Don't let anybody lock you out of the process and tell you that you don't matter, because at the end of the day, that is your child. And if you really want to know what's behind this Senate Bill 453, Public Act 18-89, follow the money.
And at this time, we will hear from Meriden High School graduate Elijah Adonai.
How you guys doing? I'm Elijah Adonai, Meriden High School. Graduate of Meriden High School. And we do have issues in high school when it comes to missing out on education and students not being able to attend class for sometimes minor things, sometimes major things. But at the end of the day, when we go to school to learn, we go to school to get education and to better ourselves and to become alumni of that high school and to go off and do better things. So when students miss out on opportunities to get that education, it does hurt future generations. It hurts the schools, it hurts parents, it hurts the teachers, and I don't support that that option of having the kids miss out on education. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, as we're about to wrap up, we have two more speakers. Yep, okay. We are now going to hear from attorney Marissa Harms from the Center for Children's Advocacy. And they were a strong voice for children during this legislative session. They knew their homework, and I never appreciated attorneys as more as I do right now. So at this time, Marissa Harms. Please correct your last name if I didn't say it properly. Thank you.
Hi there. Yeah, it's Marissa Harms. She was really close, really close. And we are the Center for Children's Advocacy. I just wanted to, first of all, thank you very much to Gwen and Connecticut, the Connecticut Parent Union for organizing this. Thank you to everybody that's coming out today in support of this. Public Act 1889 is an act that our office was extremely concerned about, the word on the street is that it's supposed to be promoting safety in our schools, right? But actually, what it's doing is the opposite. And when the governor vetoed this bill, he suggested what be done was that there be a task force of stakeholders convened to look at this issue and come up with the right way to deal with it. Important stakeholders that need to be included in that process are parents and organizations like yourselves, as well as our organization. We vehemently oppose this bill, and legally, I just want to explain real quickly, legally what our problems are with it. Number one, the bill gives teachers unfettered discretion to remove a child from their classroom for a quote-unquote violation of daily classroom safety. I'll explain what that's supposed to mean in a second. Second, anytime such a violation occurs, the school is supposed to notify all parents that the children that witness these alleged acts. So those are two things that this act does. Now that it's troublesome for a number of reasons. Number one, students, there are many students, so this act is going to disproportionately impact students with disabilities and students of color, okay? We know that. That's how discipline currently impacts children in our schools disproportionately. So number one, by giving teachers this unfettered discretion, it's potentially interfering with students with disabilities, their rights under IDEA, and they may have individual education plans that require a number of interventions before they can be removed, which shouldn't be up to a teacher's independent discretion. Number two, the return of the child to the classroom hinges upon teacher consent or an agreement of the crisis intervention team. So as you can see, it would create an opportunity for a child to be out of the classroom for an extended period of time. Here in the state of Connecticut, a suspension is defined in anything in excess of 90 minutes. So clearly it would be creating the opportunity for that. Now, the second piece of concern is the notification piece. Students are entitled to privacy rights to anything that happens in their education. That's federal law. By requiring schools to notify parents anytime there's an incident of violation of classroom safety, that's not an automatic violation of a student's right, but it will create the opportunity for parents to start discussing, oh, who's this child in this classroom that's, that's creating all these, violations and creating the ruckus, and it will start the conversation and infringe upon those privacy rights that student should be entitled to. So we were vehemently opposed to this bill. We do feel strongly that, safety is important for all students, but there's got to be a better way to go about it. So hopefully the legislators will do the right thing, and hopefully here everybody is empowered to speak to their legislators about why this bill is wrong, and we will not be having to fight it in the future. Thank you.
So just so if we do have any questions, I'll be more than happy to forward it to the attorney, and then we can have it asked. So next we will hear from, we're going to close out with our Veterans Association, the American Legion. So we have one more community leader, Giselle Jacobs. She's also a veteran of the military, and she's a mom and a grandmother from Hartford. She holds the military badge.
Hey, it fell off just in time. Yes, hello everyone. My name is Giselle Jacobs, and you pronounced it perfectly. And I thank you. I thank you for giving me the opportunity to come out this morning and speak with you all as it relates to my experience as a veteran, as a mother, as a grandmother. After speaking with Gwen on Friday and sharing with her my experiences, I'm here today to speak to that. I'm grateful for everything that I've heard as it relates to the bill, but I'm here to share my story as it relates to my experience. Having had children and grandchildren. The first experience I'll speak to is what my experience was like in being a single parent with a child while serving in the United States Armed Forces. My son was 5 years old when I was given my tour of duty overseas. And due to my having to go overseas, I had to send my son to live with my paternal grandmother in Florida. Due to our separation, my son, of which I found out later on by taking him to Walter Reed, I found out that he was traumatized as it relates to our being separated and my being sent overseas. My grandmother was clueless as to what was going on with my son as he began to go to school and get in trouble. He began to act out. His behaviors were not conducive to the classroom. And the school, of course, were unaware of why my son was behaving the way that he was behaving, and therefore you have this 5-year-old, a 6-year-old, a 7-year-old. The whole time that I was overseas, my son was going through trauma due to our being separated. And as a result, he was constantly being removed from the classroom. No one asked what was going on. Why was my son behaving the way he was behaving? You know, so that's why this bill is of concern to me. You know, another experience I had later on down the line, you know, I had a middle son. You know, my middle son was in the 3rd grade in East Hartford elementary school. I moved across the river in hopes of getting my son, my children, in a better school environment. Not realizing that if I thought I never saw any black teachers in Hartford, when we went overseas, there was 0, right? But I need to say, like, Isaiah was that middle son. He was my middle child that, like, never had any issues in school. He scored above the charts when it came to school mastery tests. Never was suspended from school. He was like that kid that taught himself to write his name at like 1 1/2. He was that kid, right? That I got the phone call while I was at work saying that I need to come pick my son up from school because he had stuck an eraser so far down his ear that they were unable to remove it. My husband got to the school before I did, and by the time I got to the pediatrician, they were using this long metal prong to remove the eraser from my son's ear. So when I asked him, like, Isaiah, why? Like, you're a bright kid. Like, why would you put an eraser? He said, Ma, I was bored. The following day, because I'm that parent, that involved parent, that shows up for PTO, that sits, you know, that shows up for open houses, sit in the classroom, lets the teacher know you can contact me. Here are all my contact numbers. I was married at the time. Here's my husband's contact information. Call me, good, bad, or indifferent. Call me. And I went to his school the following day only to pick up what work he may have missed because he got out early. And when I went to the classroom, I said, Miss So-and-so, we're here to get his schoolwork for what he missed. He knows where it's at. I said, go get your schoolwork. He didn't go to the desk that was right at the front of the classroom where I sat when I went for open house. He went all the way to the back of the classroom, in between 2 bookshelves. He disappeared. I asked where my son was going, and the teacher said he knows where he's going, to his desk. And when I followed my son, I saw that he was sitting at a desk in between 2 bookshelves, facing opposite the blackboard. All I saw was little boarded up pieces of paper around on the floor. And I'm like, what the heck is going on? Why is my son sitting in the back of the classroom, away from the other students? No wonder he's stuck in here. Why? She said he was talking too much. So I had to remove him from the other students because he wouldn't be quiet, and you never notified me. I left the classroom and went to, the principal said she was never known. How long had my son been sitting there? It had been over 2 weeks that my son had been sitting in the back of the classroom. I need to say, y'all, had it not been for my being involved and showing up at that school and writing letters to the State Board of Education, the National Board of Education, I got that teacher that had been teaching over 30 years removed. My son was then put in a class where his educational abilities was challenged, right? And in 2010, he graduated Weaver with high honors. In 2014, he graduated UConn with a master's, and he now is working for the University of Vermont, about to be married next month. Our children are relying on us parents not to just be involved when something is going on where our children may be being asked to leave the school. We need to be involved, period. And we also need to be involved as it relates to what goes on in this building over here, because what I read upon, it said that there was a unanimous vote. That means all of our senators said that they were okay with this bill. The governor was the only one that vetoed it, and they're challenging them on it. So we have some work to do, parents, and if I'm emotional, that's because this thing is serious. These are our babies. I have a 4-year-old grandson that's autistic, and I would hate to see him get removed from a classroom because he's having a not so good day. Thank you so much.
Okay, we will hear from one more parent, Shkeia, and then again we're going to take it with David Rohde from the American Legion. Shkeia Dickerson, a parent from Meriden.
Hi, I'm Shkeia Dickerson. I have got to say I do not agree with this bill going into acts because as a mother of three, a single mother of three, when the kids are disrupting class, they don't need to be removed. They just need to be talked to and seen what is going on with them. I had an issue where my daughter is being removed this past year. It's like every other day. And I would say, well, what happened? The teacher didn't know her side of the story. She would tell me the other kid's side of the story and said Jazzniqua needs to be removed and Jazzniqua's missing out on core activity. So she's coming home and she's doing her homework and she's saying, I don't know this and I don't know that. And I'm asking her, why don't you understand it? Well, I wasn't in class for that day. I had to sit in the hallway. I'm here to speak to the fact that we have teachers in school that can't relate. Me, myself, I went through school, I graduated, but I didn't graduate knowing anything. I sat at that table and they didn't teach me anything. They gave me grades that are fake. I taught myself everything that I know. They passed me through every single class. When I asked them for math work, they didn't have it. I played Oregon Trail every single day, and whenever somebody would come to watch what those teachers in special ed were doing, then they would give me a book and say, read this book, because I could read very well. So read this book to make it look like they're doing something. So teachers having the power to take our kids out of school, being an option. I'm 33 years old and I can't do basic math. Do you think that's good? That's not good. That's what's going to happen to half of our youth. If the children are the future, then why are you messing up the future? Thank you.
All right, so as we're about to close, I wanted to bring David Rohde. He is the commander of the American Legion, Post 206 of Middletown, Connecticut. And the reason why we made sure our veteran families were here, because as the sign says in front, this is a shared responsibility for school safety. And again, we know we have great teachers in the state of Connecticut, but it is not their duty alone to make the rules that govern our children. It takes all of us from the home, school, and the community. At this time, you'll hear from David, and then we'll close out. Thank you. And thank you so much, sir, for your service. Thank you.
Good morning. Thank you, Gwen, for inviting us. I sure appreciate the young lady being here this morning also, because she said a lot of what I was going to say this morning. We are veterans. We are here because as veterans, we are the grandparents, we are the mothers, we are the fathers. As we have here in Mother, we are the brothers and we are the sisters. And we went to war for this country, not only to make it a free country, but so that we can have the best education in the world for the young kids coming up before us, because eventually, hopefully one day, they're going to join the service so that they can keep this country free, keep this country with the best education system in the world for their children and their grandchildren, their nephews, and so on. So we're here this morning calling on our legislators not to overturn the governor's decision on this new Public Act 1889. This Public Act will take our educational system here in Connecticut backwards instead of moving forward. If we allow and agree with the legislators to overturn our governor's decision, let me say right here and now, it will be double trouble, and you just heard it from a student if he's of a minority, African American, Hispanic, etc. It's double trouble if he's a child of a veteran. I was going to speak to what this young lady just said. If a child learns that his mother, his father, sister, or brother is being deployed to go to war, that is an emotional effect on him or her, and they don't know how to deal with it. They go into the classrooms and that emotional is spilled out in the classroom. Now we have teachers who don't know how to deal with it. They don't investigate to see what's wrong with the child, especially if it's a child of color. And so they just say, oh, with this new act, oh, I just kick them out of school. And that's not right. They're hindering that child's education. The child is there to get educated so that someday he or she may be able to become a teacher in that same classroom. But yet this teacher, this bill want to say, well, they don't look right, they don't act right, we don't care what problems they have, let's put them out. It's wrong, it's double trouble. I submit to you this morning, if Public Act 1889 is overturned, it will put our child on the road of school to prison. And we don't want that. Too many children now, because they didn't get a proper education, because of the bullyingness and the behavior of some of these teachers in our school system today, because there's not a fair system. And this keeps that fair system, or the system that's in place now, from happening. That's where they end up. They end up incarcerated. We have more people incarcerated because they did not get a good education. So in closing, all I'd like to say is that when men, women, mothers, fathers, brothers, and sisters join our country military to keep us free, they also join again so that we could have the best education in the world. So I'm here this morning, joining with everybody this morning to say to the legislators, in this one, do not override the governor's decision. Thank you.
So in closing, some reminders for parents out there who will watch this video. Number one, register to vote. Because when we have a veteran of our armed forces, when parents are understanding data, and we see a legislature, when the Senate voted unanimously to pass this bill, knowing you hadn't heard from students, knowing you haven't heard from small businesses and parents and grandparents and foster parents and adoptive parents, so that we can have a balanced conversation about school safety. It hurts when you hear a fourth grader say, she didn't say she was perfect, she just said there are two sides to every story, so please listen to all the students when there is a crisis happening in the classroom. And parents, I'm going to echo what Giselle said. We need to get on our game for our children. Because in fairness to the teachers, there are some disruptive children in classrooms. But instead of throwing the baby out with the bathtub, let's say throw the baby out with the bathwater, right? Let's figure out to get them the proper supports they need. And that's why I'm going to say, and this is the opinions of the Connecticut Parents Union, that this might be a time that we need to look at educational choice. In other words, look at what might be available to support that child's need. Because the bill says if the teacher can remove them, they give consent to put them back. But they also can put them out again. After you put out a child over and over again, you gotta wonder, is it the climate? Are there other needs? Could this school not be the fit for the child? And that's not saying the teacher is bad or good. It's just saying this environment might not meet the academic and the emotional needs of a child. So we need to have the whole conversation about the whole child. And remember, it takes every single one of us, including small businesses, including those who mow lawns, the janitors, the cafeteria workers, the law enforcement. It takes all of us, especially parents. These are our children, and they trust us to keep them safe. And if we don't handle our business, the streets will handle the business for our children. Our job is to be a support for them, hold them accountable, hold ourselves accountable as parents. So we are not going to do the blame game today, but This law is not a good law because it disenfranchises and targets children of color, special needs children, and those with disabilities. So Governor Malloy, we thank you for your veto, and to legislators, you can do better. And if you need to understand bills, reach out to us because we can read and we can help you interpret what some of these bills are saying because we live your decisions. If you make good decisions, we benefit. If you make bad decisions, we lose. And I'm not willing to lose another child to a graveyard because we are not on our game as adults. So thank everyone for being at this press conference today. Feel free to email the Connecticut Parents Union, info@ctparentsunion.org if you have any questions or comments. Thank you and have a great day.
You know something? Hartford's strength is the people. They're independent thinkers and love their city. So how did Hartford fall into the hands of rogue policymakers? Well, to start, this rogue group spent nearly $1 million putting themselves on the inside and leaving you out in the cold. What if I told you that $5 can be the difference between a Hartford with hope and vision or a Hartford that is in perpetual decline, increasing crime, and an educational system going nowhere fast? Your $5 contribution to our team is a statement that you are investing in Hartford's future. Your $5 contribution to McCauley for mayor will make you a member of the team, and together we will explore the possibilities. More than that, you will be demonstrating that Hartford's people are ready to make a stand. Withstand. Our goal is to get the support of 5,000 people who live, work, and play in Hartford. I'm asking you to make a bold statement by contributing $5 right now, today. If you believe in Hartford and its people like I do, make that contribution. And together we will show Connecticut that the people of Hartford care enough to do our part. We are ready to pick up the ball and run. The people of Hartford are back in the game, and we're in it to win. My name is J. Sam McCauley, and I approve this message.